I'm Roy Hoosier and I'm a grateful alcoholic. I was coming home last night and Wallace called and "Can you come to Primary Purpose Talk tomorrow night?" And I said, "Probably so." He said, "You talk to Waylon?" And well, Waylon's trying to get in touch with you. I got home, I had a message from Waylon. That Jerry couldn't come. I knew Jerry's back was giving him fit. He said, "My second opportunity didn't make it, and if you can come help me, I appreciate it." And I thought, hell, I guess being third ain't near as bad. Not being invited. Look at all the people out there that he didn't invite and got to meet. Well, they built a new Dollar General store in my neighborhood, and I got a neighbor. She's quite a good old lady. She's sort of weird. She said, told me, she said, "I like to go to the Dollar General." Said, I like shopping Dollar General. Said, you go to the Dollar General, you don't have to dress up like you have to when you go to Walmart. The other day she's over there, she said, "Ain't nothing made in this country anymore. Said, everything comes from somewhere else." She said, "I bought a clock radio and it said built-in antenna, and I don't even know where antenna is." My sobriety date's March 15, 1972. I got a home group. Meets on Monday night. If I'm in town and upright, I'm there. It's where I feel the most comfortable. It's where the people know me the best. And it's where my group members don't mind calling me on my crap. I got a sponsor. Right now I got two sponsors. For the last 15 years, Tom's been my sponsor. Most of y'all know Tom's not in good condition now. So a couple of years ago, I got George Ellison down at the beach. And George has been my sponsor for a couple of years. George picked up 52 years last October. Sponsors are important in my life. Everything I am and everything I know can be traced back to guidance from a sponsor. My first sponsor was a guy named Joe Brinson, and my second one was a guy named Rupert Robinson, and my third sponsor was a guy named Bryant Bivens, and he was my sponsor for 20 years. I was at Bryant's visit the funeral home when Bryant died, and Wallace and Tom came in. I got Tom aside and I said, "You know, Joe's dead, Rupert's dead, now Bryant's dead. If you don't have any objection, I want you to be my sponsor." And Tom said, "I don't want that damn job or not." Sponsors have been important to me. I had my first drink when I was 16 years old, sitting in a car with two friends. Now, they ordered, a lot of y'all don't remember this, but we used to drink beer on the curb. We'd pull up to a drive-in, the curb hop come out, and you'd order your beer and sit in the car and drink it. And these guys ordered Miller High Life. And the curb hop looked at me and I said, "Miller High Life." And the reason I said that is I didn't know any other brands. I was 16 years old. I came from a family that didn't drink. They told me it was bad. And I just didn't know anything at all about drinking. I sat there that night and drank a beer with two friends. And I don't think one beer had that much effect on me. But I remember for the first time in my life, I felt like I was a part of. I'd been a square peg in a round hole all my life. And that night I felt whole. Now it's been over 65 years since I drank that beer. I still remember that feeling. I can almost remember what that beer tastes like. What I can't remember is who the other two guys were. I think I know, but I'm not sure of that. The reason I said it's been 65 years, today is my birthday. I was 82 years old today. And thank you. Guy said, the fellow said this morning, I was over at the VA this morning for something, and he said, "Boy, you don't look like you're 82. I said, "What's an 82-year-old supposed to look like?" Anyway, I continued to drink all the way through high school, and I I don't think I was alcoholic. I drank to excess sometimes, but I don't think I was alcoholic to start with. My wife and I ran off and got married when we were in high school. I was a senior, she was a junior, and she said we came in heat at the same time, and that's probably true. We ran off and got married. I graduated from school that year, and she went back the next year as a senior and graduated, and I signed her report cards. I'll never let her forget that. That's the first miracle. If we make it to February, we'll be married 64 years. That's the first miracle in my life. This lady should have been gone years ago. We went down to Gastonia to Christmas party back in December. Gastonia has a AA meeting on one side of the hall and AA and Al-Anon meeting on the other side. And on the Christmas party, they have an AA Al-Anon split the program. So we both went down there and talked, and she said in her talks there was 2 reasons why she never left when I was doing all that drinking. She said that one of it, she was afraid of the future. She just didn't know what would happen if she left. That fear kept her in there. And the second reason, she said that she knew if she left and I got sober, everybody'd say they knew it was that bitch he was living with. I love her to death. I'm glad she's here. I went to service. I was 20 years old. And if there's such a thing as crossing that invisible line between normal drinking and alcoholic drinking, it occurred to me when I went in service. Because it was here that I learned I didn't drink like other people. I was thrown in with guys from all over the country, and most of them had been around booze all their life, and it was nothing big deal. I learned from them that I didn't drink like they did. Once I started drinking, I couldn't quit. Once I started drinking, I couldn't predict what was going to happen. I had blackouts at 20, 21, 22 years old. I didn't know what a blackout was until I came in this program. But I'm like Bill C. up in Greensboro said, I had them before they became popular. I got out of service and went to High Point College. And if there was a period of time in my life when I didn't drink much, it was when I was in school. I went to school full time. I worked a full-time job. My wife worked a full-time job. We put me through school. I had a daughter born while I was in service and a son born while I was in college, and we had neither the money nor the time for me to drink. But every time I took a drink, I got drunk. I got out of school and I went on the road selling, and I did that for the next 40-some years. I was gone a lot. My wife raised our kids. I wasn't there enough to participate very much. I was gone Monday to Friday most every week. And sometimes when I was on the West Coast, I'd be gone 2 and 3 weeks at a time. I used to sell school buses. And during bidding season, I'd be on the West Coast, or they need to come home, get home on Saturday morning, go back out Sunday afternoon, right where I started from. So I'd stay out there 2 or 3 weeks at a time. But when I came home, I was drunk. And the weekends were always trouble. I always embarrassed myself, my wife, my family, my friends, my neighbors. It was always trouble on the weekend. I quit drinking every Monday morning. On the way to the airport, I would promise myself that this week I'm not going to drink. I'm going to stay sober all week. I'm going to come home and I stay sober over the weekend. And I'm going to be a father and a husband and a friend and a neighbor. And I'm not going to do what I did last week. I meant that. That's what I wanted to do. I'd get to the airport, check the bags, get on the plane. Wheels would come up, and here come that little cart. And the girl would say, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You want a Bloody Mary or a screwdriver? And I can't make up my mind. Give me one of each. And the cycle would start again. I remember the night as if it was yesterday, sitting on a plane in a window seat with 2 drinks in front of me, realizing that I cannot not drink. I've spent the last hour and a half promising myself that this week I'm not going to drink, and I realize that I cannot not drink. One of the first things I related to when I came in this program, in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, was a passage that said we were on a merry-go-round and couldn't get off. When I read that, I knew exactly what it was talking about. I kept on drinking, and I became not only just a daily drinker, I became an all-day daily drinker. I drank from the time I got up to the time I passed out at night, every day. In 1968, I was at a convention down in Louisiana, and a competitor of mine who knew my management and sales skills but didn't know anything about my drinking said, "Roy, why don't you go to work for me?" He was vice president of sales for a bus company out of Arkansas. And I said, "Bill, why don't you make me a deal?" And he did, and I changed companies and went to work for him, moved to Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. This company in Arkansas had a plant in Arkansas, had a plant in Texas, and they were building an assembly plant in Beaver Falls to service the Northeast, and they hired me as sales manager for that plant. And I went up there and nothing changed. Same thing. Drunk every day, creating problems, embarrassing myself, my wife, my family, my friends, and my neighbors. Nothing changed. But when I got up there, I had a list of accounts, and I would call them on the phone and introduce myself and make an appointment to come see them. And I called this one guy, Washington, Pennsylvania. His name was Ned Hunter. And I told him who I was, and he said, "Roy, I got the message from a letter from the home office, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Come on down." And I went down and spent the morning with him. And at lunchtime, I said, "Ned, why don't we go get a sandwich?" And he said, "Great." Went into the bar or lounge or cafe or whatever it was, and the girl said, "What do you guys want to drink?" And I said, "I want a martini." And he said, "I want an iced tea." And I thought, here's a man that don't drink at lunch. I had quit associating with people who didn't drink at breakfast. Well, later I got a sandwich and a beer. He got a sandwich and another glass of tea. And on subsequent visits, he never took a drink. And I was down there one time, and I happened to mention that there was a convention up in Philadelphia, and I was going to put up a hospitality suite, and he said, "Would you like me to go along to Ken Bar?" And I said, "Sure." And he went up and spent the weekend with us and stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning, telling jokes, laughing, had more fun than anybody there, pouring booze, never took a drink. And somebody told me while I was up there that Ned used to drink, but he no longer drinks. That's all I knew. A few months later, we were on a plane going down to the home office in Little Rock, and the cart came by with the drinks, and I said, "I'll take a bourbon and 7-Up." And Ned said, "I'll take bourbon and 7-Up." Now, this caught my attention. I'd known the man about a year, and he never took a drink, and I knew he used to drink, but no longer drinks. And when he ordered booze, it caught my attention. And when they brought the little miniature bottles and set them over, he just put them over on my tray. Said, "Here, you drink the bourbon, Roy, and I'll drink the 7-Up." And I said, "Ned, you don't drink at all, do you?" He had read the book Alcoholics Anonymous. He'd read the chapter Working with Others. And when I opened the door, he stuck his foot in. I got a 12-step call at 30,000 feet. Never said a word to me about my drinking, told me what happened to him. Told me about losing a family and a fortune and a business. And he ended the conversation by saying, "Oh, I belong to Alcoholics Anonymous and I haven't had a drink in 5 years." Now, at the time, I didn't know Alcoholics Anonymous from the Rotary Club, but I related to what he said about his battle with the bottle. And I put it in the back of my mind because I knew that I would need that somewhere down the road. Now, I'm convinced today that I didn't go to Pennsylvania to sell school buses. I went up there to learn about Alcoholics Anonymous. Because it seems like the minute I knew the two words, alcoholic and anonymous, and knew somebody in it, my purpose for being in Pennsylvania was over with, and I got fired. I'll give you a piece of advice. Don't ever work from anybody from Arkansas. They're the most narrow-minded people you ever met. If you don't work, they won't pay you. And all I was doing drinking, and they let me go. And we came back to North Carolina, and I went and visited my brother-in-law in a little company that wasn't big enough to support one family, much less two, and so I didn't stay long. And I bought a little store out in the country. I was coming home one day and I stopped to get gas, and I went in and about paid for the gas, and the old boy said, "Let me show you this place." And I said, well, I looked around, he had a drink box, and he had a cooler, and shelves, and a cash register, and a few things, not much stock. And I said, "What do you want?" He said, "I'll take $1,200 and walk out the door. You have everything. Whatever the changes in the cash register." Well, let me think about it. So the next morning I went in the bank in High Point that I'd never been in my life. I walked in, the guy said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I want to borrow $3,000. Now, my mama wouldn't loan me 35 cents for a pack of cigarettes. And I said, "I want to borrow $3,000. And he said, "What are you going to do with it?" And I said, "I'm going to buy a little store out in the country. Man wants $1,200 for the store, and I want $1,800 for inventory." And he said, "Fill this paper out while I make out the check." Never seen the man, never seen him before in my life. Of course, I had to open up a checking account in his bank. I wondered a long time why this man loaned me that money until I read in the paper one night where he had been transferred from High Point down to Wilmington, and they caught him walking down the streets of Wilmington nude, drunk, with 2 bags of the bank's money under his arm. And I knew why he loaned me. He's drunk like me. Anyway, I stayed there for a while. But in November of 1970, I came to laying on the floor in my belly saying, "Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it?" And I know what I'd done. I just knew last night was bad. I was full of guilt, remorse, and shame, and I knew last night was bad, but I couldn't come up with any details. But I remembered Ned Hunter back in Pennsylvania. And I called him on the phone and I said, "Ned, I think I got a drinking problem." Ned said, "Roy, everybody that's ever known you knows you have a drinking problem. And we're just thrilled to death that you finally found it out." And we began to talk. End of the conversation, he gave me the secret to life. I didn't know it. He said, "Call Alcoholics Anonymous and do what they tell you to do." For a drunk, that's the secret to life. I called AA that morning. They sent a man out to see me, and I went to my first AA meeting sometime in November 1970. And I'd been in that meeting about 15 minutes when I knew I was home. I knew that's where I belonged. I liked AA from the very beginning. Now, there were a couple of parts of this program I didn't buy right off the bat. One was that God bit, and the other was that not drinking. If you leave God not drinking out, there's no hell of a lot left but coffee. Needless to say, I had a lot of trouble. For the next 18 months, the only thing I did worthwhile was return to Alcoholics Anonymous after every major drunk. But I learned firsthand about the insanity of this program. We don't talk about insanity enough in this program. We're crazy as hell. If you don't believe it, look back over your life. And the problem is we're crazy when we're sober. We're cold sober and we think this is not going to happen again. I mean, we've been in jail 5 times and we don't think we can make it 6. Ain't going to happen. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit what would happen to me. I'd be going to AA, might be sober 6 weeks, probably been to a meeting on Sunday night. Monday on the way home from work would pull into the Smitty's and go in and get a draft beer. Didn't think a thing in the world about AA, didn't think a thing in the world about the last time I was in jail, the last time my family left, nothing. Just go in and get a draft beer. Stand at the counter